There's been much talk about the Bitcoin currency, which was launched in the wake of the 2009 global financial crisis, also dubbed as a form of e-money. A single Bitcoin traded at around $135 last week, Friday. And joining us for more detail on this is the MD of Worldwide Works, Arthur Goldstack. Arthur, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
What on earth are we talking about when we talk about a Bitcoin?
A Bitcoin is money that doesn't really exist, and you generate it on a computer, which is partly what makes it so confusing as well as scary for people who are trying to venture into it but don't quite know what it is. Basically, you run a program on your computer that over time, through using your computing power, generates a Bitcoin. And that Bitcoin 2 years ago was worth about 6 cents. So it wasn't a big deal. No one really made a fuss about it. And it probably took about a year before the number of Bitcoins in circulation reached about $1 million in value. And that's when people sat up and took notice.
Is it comparable to Ebooks? Alicia and I were talking about it earlier. She said she didn't really understand Ebooks. So you really have to understand you're starting at a low base here. Ebooks is not money, but you can generate them and you can use them to buy things. Is this the same as Ebooks?
Not quite. Michael Jordan was quite naughty on Twitter a day or two ago when he said Ebooks could have been Bitcoins if it wasn't Silicon Valley, but he was really being tongue-in-cheek.
So what is the difference?
Because Ebooks has a real value. You can actually work out what you earn Ebooks from through activity in a bank account or shopping, and you know exactly what it's worth and you know exactly what you can trade it for. Bitcoins fluctuates based on what Bitcoin users believe it's worth and what they agree it's worth. So there are exchanges for Bitcoins where you can actually buy and sell Bitcoins.
But that's the same as all currencies. People agree on what the value is. If they couldn't, then they wouldn't be able to exchange. But one of the notes I made from it was that the number of Bitcoins is capped at 21 million. Now that sounds like the gold standard. There's a certain amount of gold in the world and that's it. Can that be?
It can be, but there can also be a point at which they decide to raise the cap again. The problem with Bitcoins is that there's no authority behind it. There's no central bank, there's no central authority. So no one actually dictates what Bitcoin should be worth or what the rules are. The rules are defined by the computer programs that run Bitcoin.
I'm still confused.
And that means hackers can break into it and steal Bitcoins.
That's exactly
and use
it.
them.
I mean, the risk is high. There's no one really backing it. You're not sure what you can buy or sell with it. What's driving demand in the first place?
Demand is purely driven by people agreeing that it has a value and agreeing to exchange goods for Bitcoins. As you say, money itself, they say, is a fiction. It's simply an agreement between people that it represents value for exchanging for goods. And Bitcoins is no different from that point of view, but it's completely different from the point of view that no authority identifies itself as being behind it or backs it. So there's no actual backing.
So as a person that holds a Bitcoin, how do you identify who you can trade with?
Well, you've got to go online and you've got to get involved in the trading communities, but also you can search online for sites that accept Bitcoins as payments. The first payment for a picture, for example, was 2 years ago using Bitcoins. And that was a major event for the Bitcoin community because up to that point, there wasn't any evidence that Bitcoins could actually be used.
You speak sympathetically of them. Are you a member of this community?
No. I speak sympathetically because I feel very sorry for people who hold a lot of Bitcoins, because right now they're in a situation where there's a total bubble that's built up over the last month. At the beginning of February, the value of Bitcoins reached, I think it was $34 for the first time. That was an all-time high, and people started speaking about bubble then. Beginning of April, it passed $100, and today, or in the last 24 hours, it passed $200. So you can see that there's a bubble that's going to burst. It's going to hurt a lot of people.
But a bubble that's forming as a result of all that's happening in the European banking system specifically, right?
It's certainly being helped by the crisis in Cyprus. People are looking for an alternative form of currency that's not going to lose its value or vanish overnight, or that can be controlled by banking authorities. And I think that's the
in other words, hackers might raid your account, but the European banking authorities or the governments can't.
Exactly that. So your government can't take your money away from you, as they are doing in Cyprus,
but now, if you
do in Cyprus right now.
If I now want to get Bitcoins, am I able to go online and buy them, or do I need to buy software? You said it's generated by the computer. Which is not like Ebooks. Ebooks is entirely notional.
Absolutely. If you're a techie or if you fairly computer literate, you
We're
can
not-
install the software on your system and you can spend a week generating 1 Bitcoin, for example. So it's a frustrating process, although right now it's appealing because of the value. But someone starting today to generate Bitcoins might find by the time they've generated enough that they can use, the bubble will have
What about
burst.
forgeries of Bitcoins? That's the next step, isn't it?
The software is very impressive. The person who developed it is anonymous. He's known as, I think it's Satoshi is the guy's name, so everyone assumes it's someone Japanese, but no one knows who Satoshi actually is. So we only know that he's a brilliant developer who came up with a system that really works, and when it breaks down, it gets fixed very quickly. The one thing that does go wrong, though, is that people don't protect their computers well enough, and hackers are able to get into people's computers, steal their Bitcoins, and there's no recourse whatsoever because there's no audit trail and there's no authority that's going to ensure your Bitcoins.
Well, a very interesting topic. Arthur, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks so much for having joined us this morning. Arthur Goldstack is the MD of Worldwide Works, and very interestingly enough, as a result of all that's unfolded in Cyprus, searches have shown that Russians are now the most interested in Bitcoin, so help driving some of that demand.